Okay, welcome along to Croke Park. I'm Fintan O'Toole from the 42.ie. I'm joined by Johnny Doyle, former Kildare footballer, Leinster title winner in 2000 and 2010 All-Star. 66,666 people here today for the Leinster football final, and we've seen Dublin do the double. They won the minor against Louth and they won the senior 223 to 117 against Kildare. Johnny, I suppose, what's the kind of initial reaction, I suppose, from a Kildare point of view, losing by 9 points? Disappointment or kind of maybe a bit of satisfaction that they kind of challenged them all the way, considering the start that they had to the game?
Yeah, I suppose initially it's disappointment. You know, you're not that long gone out of the dressing room, so you know the emotion the lads are going through, the hurt they're feeling, and you know, regardless of what we talked about and the general public talked about all week, they only thought about winning. You just get all the negative thoughts out of your head and just think about winning, and then when it does, the inevitable maybe did happen, it hits you like a bus because you're just not prepared for it. But you know, they'll take a day or two to feel sorry for themselves, as we all tend to do, and you know, maybe meet for a few quiet drinks tonight and get back, because I think this Kildare team has a lot left to have a big say in this championship yet, and regardless of what the qualifiers hold for us, you know, we've embraced it over the last number of years, have embraced the qualifier route, and you know, really gone ahead with a drive and a passion, and we need to do that again, because this is a good Kildare team. It's a Kildare team that's improving the whole time. It's learning, a little bit naive in some areas, but learning a lot too, and I think today could, if it's funneled in the right way, can stand to Kildare.
We'll have to look at the first 15 minutes, I suppose. First of all, I mean, when we look back at Kildare's semi-final win over Meath and Tullamore, it's such a brilliant start that night. You know, the Cathal McNally goal and a couple of points. I think they scored within seconds of the throw-in here through Daniel Flynn, and you probably thought they were set, but went 20 minutes without scoring, and then the key was that period, wasn't it? The 10th and 11th minute, when Dublin cut them apart for 2 goals very quickly.
Yeah, they did, and it was disappointing. The first goal, you know, in fairness, I think Jack McCaffrey put Dean Rock through, and you know, in fairness to him, he doesn't miss those chances, and he, you know, put it right across to the bottom right hand corner of the keeper, and you know, great finish. A little bit more disappointed with James McCarthy's goal. You know, we had David Hyland and went out to tackle him, and then and Davis Latcher went out to tackle him, gave the ball in, and then the two boys followed the ball, left him ghost in behind, and when he got the ball back, finished it very well as well, you know. So the second goal would have been more disappointed from a defensive point of view, because we had men back, we seemed to have cover, but you got to look at those second runs, and they're the ones that Dublin really thrive on, you know, that when they give the ball is what happens then, where does the man go, and that's why the likes of James McCarthy and Jack McCaffrey get into these positions, because they're relentless. They go hard for that second ball. Sometimes they don't get it, and they'll recycle and they'll go hard again. And that was the telling moment, really, as you say, in such a short space of time as well. And you know, Kildare, such a big gap then without getting our second point. If we could have come back up the field and maybe notched on a point or two, then, you know, the game set, because it started at a phenomenal pace. It really did. It was end-to-end stuff, which you'd expect a provincial championship to do, especially here in Croke Park. Big pitch and conditions are perfect, but we needed to just to shut down shop for a 5 or 6 minute period, you know, even pull maybe a few more lads back behind the ball to say, you know what, we need to just be very careful for the next few minutes. But unfortunately, that's maybe that little bit of inexperience.
I'm presuming you were a bit concerned when you saw that. I mean, like, after 11 or 12 minutes, down by 2-4 to a point. But to get to a stage at half-time then, 2-8 to 10 points, I don't think anyone really saw it coming, because, I mean, like, when Dublin get the early goals, they usually kind of kick on. We've seen that so many times. But that kind of 10 or 15 minutes before half-time, that was really impressive from Kildare, character-wise, wasn't it, to bounce back?
It was, and you know, you do, in that situation, when the second goal, then you're thinking, you're really getting flashbacks of games past where they've done that to us. But even, you know, from the last day we played them in 15, where they gave us a huge hammer in here. There's a little bit more steel in this Kildare team. They've worked really hard over the year, and you know, we've a few really strong characters in the team, the likes of Owen Doyle, who you know, wasn't common knowledge, but I knew early in the week, or he'd broken his thumb, but yet strapped it up and just put himself about, you know, one huge amount of possession. But you know, that sort of character we have in the team. You know, look at Kevin Feely in the middle of the field, Paddy Brophy in the full forward line, you know, really good characters within the team. So while it was a little bit disappointing, you thought, oh, here we go again, but you knew that those guys were going to really keep fighting till the bitter end, and to come back then to leave it back to 4 points going in at half time, talking to even a few supporters at half time, there was still a bit of a pep in our step that if we can that 15 minutes after, if we can keep Dublin on the back foot, we're in with a chance, and we probably had 1 or 2 chances if we needed to take and didn't take.
Yeah, I suppose. I mean, if we look back at the Meath game again, the goals were key that night. There was Kildare were really going to need a couple of goals today. There was one massive chance, I suppose, early in the second half. It's 2-12. I think it was 2-12 to 12 points. Daniel Flynn went through, and that was the moment, really, wasn't it? Like, I mean, if you got a goal, then you were really going to maybe test Dublin.
Yeah, it was. It would have brought it back, as you said, to a 3-point game, and it was a huge opportunity. And in fairness to Davis Slattery, he did massive work to get. He shook off 2 or 3 Dublin men and put it through. Daniel Flynn made a great run through the middle and put it on a plate for him. And you have to make Stephen Cluxton work. He just stood up tall and he just blasted him. He had to put it low. You think of the 2 Dublin chances, particularly Dean Rocks. Not as in a good a position as Daniel, but kept it low. And in fairness to Daniel, I suppose maybe he just got. When he made the run, he was nearly going too hard, and just his execution was poor. But and it probably affected his game a little bit as the game went on. We didn't see as much of him when the game was and had 1 or 2 shots that really weren't on, and they're the little things they have to learn. And he learned from that. He's after while he has plenty of experience, but he's after been out of football for the last number of years. With he's been away in Australia and then came back and picked up a few bad injuries. So he learned from that, but that was a real game changer. Now, I'm not saying that Dublin were going to roll over and die, but you were bringing it back to 3 points, a bit of momentum, and who knows. And, it still would have been very difficult to beat Dublin, but we were back in and it was game on.
You mentioned that Dean Rock finished for the first goal. His afternoon ended a good bit earlier than I presume he would have liked. 10 minutes later, so Dublin lose their free taker, but Conor Callaghan more than stepped up there, finished with 12 points, 6 frees, 6 from play. And then you look at who they brought on. Bernard Brogan scored 5 points. So those 2 players, I think, matched Kildare's entire tally. And it's something we already know, but it was just another reminder, wasn't it, of the attacking strength and depth this Dublin team have.
Yeah, and it's when you put it in those contexts, you think, I'll be honest, I was rubbing my hands when Dean Rock was blackguarded. I was thinking, there's a free taker gone, and I was even thinking, will Paul Mannion hit the freeze, or who'll hit the freeze? And next thing you nearly forget about Conor Callaghan. And look, what a display to put on for a young lad who's still under 21. Massive kicking. He was, but the coolness he kicked with, it was like a young lad just out the back garden kicking for sport. Phenomenal display. And in fairness to Bernard Brogan, he's a top player, but has been, and we've seen in the past where players maybe get into the twilight of their career and can drift away, but he's as hungry as ever. And I watched him here against Westmeath when he came on, and while he didn't get a huge amount of scores, he was involved in at least 6 or 7 scores that Dublin got, but just our sheer movement, work rate, given the right ball, and he's a joy to watch.
Do you think he looks like he's a point to prove this year? Obviously last year, by his standards, with the All-Irelands, the way the 2 of the games went for him didn't go the way the rest of his career had. Like, does he look to you like a guy that's come back this year, wants kind of one last maybe big kick in him?
Yeah, it depends. You can look at it in 2 ways. You can look at it that way, and maybe that's the type. I don't know Bernard Brogan that very well at all. What does make him tick? Some players will use that as a to tell Jim Gavin that you're wrong, and I'm going to show you you're wrong. And if that works, absolutely. And Jim Gavin will love that. To me, he looks like a guy that's part of this Dublin ethos, I suppose, that Jim has instilled, that it's about the panel. And I was talking to Barry Cahill about it last night, and he says it's a relatively happy camp with the players, and you're thinking, God, everyone wants to start, and it's very hard for a manager to keep a successful team happy, because they all want a slice of the action as much as possible. But to me, Bernard Brogan looks like a lad that's willing to do whatever he has to do for the team, and his application, and we'll talk about his scores and all that, but his movement off the ball, his work rate, he was sprinting out on their kick-outs when Kildare put the kick-out to look for breaks, won a couple of breaks, and he just looked very hungry and very sharp, and it was a joy to watch.
As ever, when Dublin are involved, kick-outs is always a big topic for discussion. But Kildare won a lot of primary possession, and I just want to talk about one player in particular who was key to that, was Kevin Feely. It was fantastic to watch, wasn't he? I mean, I think there was one period there midway through the second half. I think he got 3 clean from Mark Donlan's kick-outs in the space of 5 or 6 minutes. We saw him kicking frees off his left foot into the hill, and the same down here in front of the Davin end. He's a guy that's been a good bit talked about this year, but he seemed to carry the form that we've seen in the league and the other in the Leinster Championship into today.
Yeah, he's been excellent. I mean, and like his free taking came about by chance, because if he's playing for his club, he doesn't take the frees. And then when Neil Flynn picked up an injury, I remember talking to Ronan Sweeney about it, and he said it to him one night, you're striking. I was watching him kicking, and he said, you're striking the ball very well. Do you ever kick frees? He said, I'll take it on, no bother. And he said he was phenomenal, and he said the stats during the league, he at one stage he'd 16 shots, 16 frees, and hadn't missed one. And some of his striking off his so-called weaker left foot is a joy to look at. It looks so easy to him, and I've tried it a few times myself playing, and when you meet them on the laces off the left foot, but I've kicked some horrendous ones as well. It just didn't meet them right, because that awkwardness is a little bit. But he looks so comfortable. I'd say people here didn't know whether he was left foot or right foot, and his feeling was he's probably one of the top fielders in the country. He just seems to be able to hang there, and he won phenomenal kickouts, high feeling today, and he wasn't marking any slouch in Brian Fenton when going for those. Brian Fenton's a big tall man. He must be 6'5", and just being able to read the ball and read the flight of it, and yeah, he was he certainly the talk, he lived up to it today, and just it's a pity to see he was sent for an early shower because of some incident that happened that nobody else seemed to see, that obviously Anthony Nolan saw something.
What was the biggest difference for you today? Was it the more experienced team? I mean, Dublin, obviously, we've seen it's 7 in a row for them now, Leinster titles. For a lot of these, 8 years since Kildare were last in a final, for a lot of these players, it was a completely new experience. Did you see little things during the game, maybe shot selection, fumble passes here and there, that it was just maybe a little bit of inexperience told?
Yeah, I think there was, and we had a couple of opportunities. Like the one thing about Dublin, they just never seem to panic. If the shot's not on, they're happy enough to recycle, and we saw glimpses of that. At different times from Kildare. Paddy Brophy's point in the first half where I think it was Davis Latry just weaved his way. You were thinking, will he have a shot? No, he didn't. He waited. Paddy Brophy looped around him and took the shot again. There was another stage, Kevin Feely, it was the same thing, just waited and got in a position and had the shot. On the flip side of that, we had a couple of wild shots off. I think Tommy Mulick had one, high percentage shot.
It was kind of particularly that period, I think, around the time of the Flynn goal, wasn't it?
It was, yeah, and you could nearly sense it in the crowd. It was sort of sapping the energy out of Kildare. You could see it on the field. Daniel Flynn had one or two more really, and ended up taking a shot in the corner. It was never on. He maybe trying to pass a ball across, lob it into the square, but you need to recycle those. Go again. Once we kept possession, someone will always break, someone will take that, and it's difficult because Dublin, and I watched them, they were at one stage, I looked at it, they were 10 points up, and there's 14 men inside their own half looking to get on ball, and looking, their defensive unit was very, very strong, so that little bit of inexperience probably told in Kildare, and I won't be too hard on Daniel Flynn, but when we get into those positions, we have to, against Dublin, you have to take those chances. Yes, you're going to kick a certain amount of wides, as Dublin had their fair share as well, particularly at periods, that dominant period in the first half with that Kildare had, they kicked 4 or 5 bad wides that you don't really associate, but they kept at it. It's, as Jim Gavin says, it's the process he talks about. So again, this is a relatively young Kildare team. We've a bit to learn, but no doubt with Cian O'Neill will bring them back, and they'll learn from it. And as I say, I'd be very confident that we'll have another day or two out in this All-Ireland series now.
Before we look ahead with Kildare, we might just, I suppose, touch on Dublin. I mean, I think it's about 3 months now since that league final defeat. Maybe a bit sluggish at times in the Carlow game, a couple of whispers. I was talking to you during the week, and you were saying people talking about maybe they're in a bit of decline, but I've seen what they did against Westmeath, and they've won today by 9 points, 7 Leinster titles in a row. I mean, they're the All-Ireland champions, and they're the favourites now, aren't they, going into I suppose the business end of the championship as we head towards the quarter-finals?
Yeah, they are, and that's 12 out of 13 Leinster titles, which is just it's phenomenal, really. Going for 3 in a row in All Ireland's, no different than I thought during the week. Outside of their display today, they're up there with the best teams I can say that ever played the game. Obviously, you talk of the great Kerry team of the 70s and 80s, the Dublin team of the 70s, the Tyrones of the noughties, and maybe the Kerry team of the noughties. They're right up there with them. They're phenomenal, and you just today you're coming into it. You want everything to go wrong for them, but then when you stand back and the emotion of Kildare goes out, you're looking at them, and you have to stand back and admire them. And as I say, Jim Gavin deserves huge credit for the way he seems to be able to keep them so hungry for success. And today was another example of when the pressure came on, they just never flinched. They just kept time and time again. If they kicked the wide, it didn't seem to matter. They just went at it again and again. And you just at times you say you're lucky to be able to sit back and watch them. I'd prefer if it wasn't Kildare they're putting to the sword, but they're a phenomenal team, and it'd be very hard to see to back against them on going for 3 in a row. But look, at joys of sport, you just never know. I'm sure Kerry and Tyrones of this world, and maybe one or two more might have a plan to say, well, look, if we get a chance, we'll give them a right rattle. But it's very hard to see. It's very hard to see anyone stopping them.
And finally, I suppose Kildare, they're going to the round B, 4B qualifier draw tomorrow. They're going to play either Armagh, Kieran McGeeney, so that's obviously going to be that'll be a big talking point if that pairing comes to pass. Or else it'll be Monaghan, who they would have met, I think it's in 2010 and 2014. The fact they don't have a 6-day turnaround, that's got to be key now, isn't it? That they have the 13 days to recover. And given all the progress they've made this year, it'll be disappointing if they don't make it past the next stage and get to an All-Ireland quarter-final, won't it? Considering, like I said, all they've done, getting league promotion and getting back to a Leinster final.
Yeah, it will, and look, it's inevitable. As the start of the line, it's surely going to be Armagh, and there'll be the whole circus around Geezer and that. I was talking to him on the way in there. I met him, and I was saying, you're coming down now to take notes, and he said, oh no, I wouldn't like to get Kildare, and the usual mind games with Geezer. But yeah, look, it's regardless of who they get, Monaghan and Armagh are coming off, have a bit of momentum. All right, Monaghan probably a little bit stop-start yesterday against Carlow, but it's funny. I wasn't surprised because Carlow play a very defensive game. Down in Dr. Cullen Park, it's a tight pitch. Dressing rooms are very tight. It's just, it's like a little cauldron down there, and they were always going to cause Monaghan trouble, and to get out with a 5-point win. All right, the rest of the country was probably love to see Carlow the journey keep going for them, but to go down there and win by 5 points in the manner they did, I think Monaghan will be happy enough coming out of it, and say they have the momentum. They'd love to get back at a crack in Kildare, maybe here in Croke Park, as we've done before. But look, it's regardless of who comes through, it's a tough ask of Kildare. But one, I think that whoever comes through, once this Kildare team reacts in the way I think they will, I think they have a great chance. And I would be very disappointed if they're not here in August, the August weekend for a quarter final. I think that's genuinely a goal they should be setting themselves. And look, you just never know with football, but I think when they dust themselves down after a day or two and get back at it again, they'll take positives from this. They'll realise that they've a lot of work to do. They'll realise that that one or two players have to find a new level to compete with the Dublins of this world. But I've no doubt they will go and do that, and regardless of what way the draw goes, I'd be confident that Kildare should be in a good position.
Okay, Johnny, thanks a lot for joining us. So that draw tomorrow morning will be Kildare and Down, Monaghan and Armagh for the round 4B games, which will take place on the 28th of July. But Dublin go forward to the All-Ireland quarter-finals. Just to recap again, 223 to 117 win here today at Croke Park, 7 in a row done for the first time. That's all from us.